Honestly, watching this movie was the best part because she's only in like one of the songs and I could spend most of the time just singing along and relaxing. Yay! Hey guys, welcome back to Quarantine Queen Ranking. I'm Libby, Rank Master and head of Punzi's Palace, so be sure to subscribe down below if you enjoy this video and series and other Disney content, and be sure to hit that bell so you know every time that I upload. The ranking rules are only official Disney princesses, sorry Kita, only the original movie, and only focusing on the princesses' actions. Princesses can gain and lose points based on how they follow pandemic guidelines, and the princess with the highest score wins. So let's begin with our sass queen, Jasmine from Aladdin. So to start, we get some background knowledge on Jasmine before we even meet her, since she's not the title character of this movie. And we see Prince Ahmed, a foreign prince, is coming to see her. He's foreign and traveling. Minus points for that, even if he is a prince. And it said that he's another suitor for the princess, implying that there's been a line of them coming into the palace and going, so not great. But we do see that she lives in a giant palace with giant walls to keep people out, so that's a big plus. Alright, then we see Prince Ahmed storm out of the palace with a bite out of his pants. So it seems like Jasmine didn't really even get that close to him because Raja came in there first and bit his butt. Maybe keeping a tiger is helpful for her quarantine. Also, she won't get deducted for any time she touches Raja, since Raja is her pet and she's been isolated with her for a very long time. A different story if she ever kissed Raja, but she doesn't, so. Also, bonus points for having a tiger, since Tiger King was a really big quarantine binge watch for a lot of people. Bonus! And she talks to her tiger, and a Boo the monkey, and a camel, as well as singing to a horse in A Whole New World. So she gets points for singing and talking to animals. I'm very interested to see what princess doesn't get points for this. And she gets more points for wanting to leave her palace and longing for freedom. Awesome. But she does cuddle a bird, and the birds do belong to her and her father since they're in a cage outside of their palace. We don't know how long she's had them, so just like a few points off for that. And then there's the big line we needed to hear. She has never gone beyond the palace walls, meaning she has been isolated in that palace for almost 16 years. Big points there. Let's see what she does with them. She escapes the palace in the very next scene. That's what she does with them, so she's not doing great. And she goes to a marketplace, which is full of people. Also not great. But she is just window shopping. She doesn't get very close to any of the vendors. She's just looking at the things they have. Whoops, but then she bumps into the fire eater dude. He puts his hand on her and he burps right in front of her face. Gross. But she actually doesn't touch him. She just does the like hover hand, like, are you okay? Are you good thing? So that's pretty good. She does, however, get minus points for picking up an apple and giving it to a strange child, which is sad. But she gets points for feeding a poor hungry child. It's like giving to charity in a time of need, and what better time of need than during a pandemic? Being kind and helping the less fortunate, it's very good. And she does have to pay the price by having the vendor grab her arm and almost slice it off, so. But then Aladdin steps in and he gives her the vendor's sword, a stranger's sword. Not good. I know Aladdin is supposed to be the hero we root for, but he's a street rat and he's dirty and lives off the streets and interacts with a lot of people. And he also has a pet monkey, so he's probably very susceptible to being a carrier of the virus at the very least. And he touches Jasmine multiple times. They are not 6 feet apart, so even if you think he's cute, she might get the virus or become another carrier, which is just as bad. So yeah, not great. Not great, Jasmine. And then she puts her hands on the dirty market ground, very close to that monkey, so. And Aladdin before this point was also only touching the fabric she was wearing, so that's a little bit better, but then he grabs her hand as they run away. And then he helps her up to his place, touching hands. And then she falls into him, no social distancing, or even trying to social distance. And again, with the hand holding, touching, you just met him. And then he leads her to where he lives. And 2 things. 1, you shouldn't go to a stranger's house. And 2, it is not just a stranger's house, but a very rundown, barely livable stranger's house. And she touches another apple, which was from a monkey, and a stranger from the marketplace. And they're just so close to one another. They just met, and he's very likely to be germy. And she does touch his hand again, but this time it is to flee from other people, and they are her guards, but like, general rule of thumb is just to avoid people in this pandemic, so she does that. but then she does try to attack the guard, so not great. Finally, we get her back to the palace, so she's no longer out and about. So I'm going to give her some points here because she stays in the palace for the rest of the movie and she never goes out again, which is good. She only went out for like maybe a day, which is not great, and she did do a lot of terrible things, but it's better than being out for a long time. She goes back to quarantine, so that's good. But then she interacts with Jafar, and she doesn't keep 6 feet away from him, and she was just in the marketplace, and he is their trusted advisor who's probably been isolated with them for a pretty long time. But he's actually been lying about that. We saw him at the beginning of the movie traveling, and we also see that he's been interacting with some lowlives since he traded with that guy for the other half of the scarab to find the cave, and the guy looks pretty shifty. So I'm going to take a good bit of points off just for being close to him, but not too much since we don't see every time he leaves the palace. Also, this just goes to show you cannot trust where people have been or where they've told you they've been. Just avoid everyone, and when in doubt, just sanitize everything. But then Jafar puts his hands on her. However, she brushes him off immediately and runs away from him. So good job, Jasmine. At least she is grossed out by him, so she keeps her distance. And the next time we see Jasmine, she is talking to her father and they snuggling close, which is not great because her dad even says that he's not going to be around for much longer, implying that he's getting old. She was just in the marketplace touching all over Aladdin, and now she's touching her dad. She may have showered upon returning to the castle, but we don't really know that. And later we do see her father make her and Jafar hold hands, and Jafar was just out traveling to the cave again, so... But she again pulls away immediately. I mean, just look at that little bald fist. She hated every second of touching him. Oh, also, she even says that she wants to get rid of him. And I know she wants to get rid of him because she thinks Jafar's evil and like is terrible to her and everything, but she's also getting rid of somebody who's going out a lot and not telling them and is putting them at a higher risk for catching the virus, so getting rid of him is really a good option, so. And then Prince Ali arrives, and she dismisses him and her father and Jafar. They all are talking about her being a prize, and she is not a prize to be won. She keeps her distance from them and doesn't go anywhere near them and walks away. Good job. And then when Aladdin comes to her balcony, she says she does not want to see him. Again, good mentality, since he's a stranger to her. Whenever she does go to touch him, it doesn't count. Remember, our new rule? From here on out, magic is like hand sanitizer. So he's been completely sanitized because he wished to be a prince and Genie magicked him. The only other people he's interacted with since then and coming to touch Jasmine have been her father and Jafar. Both people that she has also interacted with and been exposed to already. No negative points for how touchy they are on this romantic carpet ride. And the only person they come close to even being near on this carpet ride is the guy working on the Sphinx in Egypt, and they just wave at him from a very big distance. Travel by carpet, people, if you are so desperate to see the world. Seems to work. She does pet a strange little horse, but like barely. And again, another apple. Jasmine apparently loves apples. But then when we get back to the castle, Jafar tries to move in on her and say that he's gonna marry her, and he touches her hand again. But she absolutely despises him and snatches her hand back immediately. Once again, good. Unfortunately, Jafar's magic disappearing act does produce a cloud of smoke that makes her, Aladdin, and her father all cough. That's not really great. But she gets more points for having this awesome place where she addresses her kingdom from such great heights and great distance, such style, such sanitation. And then Jafar goes crazy with power and makes her his slave, and he eats an apple and spits on her face. She wipes it off immediately, but it's still gross. And you would think that when she's flirting with Jafar to help Aladdin sneak in and get the lamp, that I would deduct points from her. But Jafar is completely magic now because he wished to be a sorcerer. No points off, but I still have to take points off for kissing him because that's just gross on so many levels. But she gets some bonus points back for struggling to breathe and the little hourglass thing, and struggling to breathe is a very quarantine thing. Genie does touch her, but no points off because he is very much like Fairy Godmother, where he is just pure magic, and magic is clean. And Aladdin and her touch a lot near the end, but he's only been interacting with the same people that she has, and also he was just magicked by Jafar in his reveal of being Aladdin and not Prince Ali, so he's also sanitized. No points off. So Jasmine, the sass queen from Agrabah ends with a grand total of 36 points. Not bad, it's not great, but it's not bad. So she got a lot of points for being isolated in her palace for so long, but she also lost a lot of those points by going to the marketplace the next day and interacting with Aladdin, who's a street rat and he was really dirty and gross, but she gained some of those points back. That puts Jasmine in 4th place, right between Belle and Ariel, and it looks like no one guessed her point total correctly, but that's okay. We get an honorable mention to the Siskit Ears, All Things Disney, for getting very, very close with 37 points as their guess. But many people did guess correctly where in the ranking she would end up, being in 4th place. People like Life Joyfully Done, Angela Jenkins, and Matthew Reviews, so good job. Our next princess is Pocahontas, so leave a comment down below on your guess with how many points she'll earn and where you think she'll land in the rankings. I'll give you guys a hint, I only deduct her one time for being barefoot the entire movie. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more Disney content, be sure to subscribe down below, and until next time, farewell.